It's time to get this show on the road. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's have a little prayer before we start. Lord, again, we thank you for this day and for the many blessings that you pour out upon us each and every day of our lives. Our Father, as we have assembled here, we pray that you would give us the strength, the courage, and the wisdom and knowledge to do what we need to do to keep our county moving forward. We just thank you for it all, and we ask you to accept whatever we do and forgive us for our shortcomings. In Christ's name we ask it. Amen. Amen. Okay, Mr. Clerk, are you ready?
Yes, sir. Denzel Potter.
Here.
John Brown.
Here.
Stanley Reed.
Here.
Brandon Evans.
Here.
Anthony Likens.
Here.
Stanley Franklin.
Here.
All present.
100%, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
I haven't looked over the minutes from the last meeting, but I guess we have, haven't we? Somebody has.
I have.
All right.
I'll make that motion.
Anthony makes a motion that we accept the minutes from the last meeting. Do I hear a second to that motion?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Glad to have the road department with us this morning. Anything you fellas want to say up front? At least we haven't had the snow to fight with us, but we have we? This list of,
We've got that on the agenda.
okay, all right. Excuse me. Okay, emergency management, man that wants to make a report.
Y'all got a copy of my monthly report.
Okay. Is there anything you want to call our attention to other than what's on your report?
No, I'm just working with the RSS,
Okay.
trying to get us back in compliance.
Robin, you want to talk to us?
We've got a lot of membership, not only local county membership, we've got a lot coming from Genesee County and Elder County. They picked up a lot the last couple of weeks. The carpet has been ordered for the Ingle Clay area, the Straw Topper area. I'm also having the bowling alley area floors cleaned and the other floors cleaned. That should be happening within a few days. Also, I gave you all a handout, and this shows some of our bicycles. We only have four. Two of them, as you can tell, are flat. I mean, the back's just laid completely down. And out of the four, three of them are pre-tornado bicycles. So I have a quote here to maybe get a couple more bicycles, some kettlebells. People are using our free weights and just walks around the track carrying them, and they have dropped them and they've made indentations in the track. So these would be easier for them to actually carry and do some of the exercise they try to do down there. Also, there's something new on there. I've never actually seen this in person, but they say it's a big craze in Mexico. It's called a water roller, and it's like a total body thing. You just sit down on it, and it has a tub-like thing that spins around. It has water in it, and they say it's really good. It's not that expensive, so I thought maybe we could try one of those. And a couple more bicycles, so we can take those two out. And if you all would approve that, I can get that ordered and we can get some bicycles and put them in there.
Well, we would want to make sure these are tornado proof, wouldn't we? Because that's the ones we had before was tornado proof, wasn't it?
I hope we never have another.
But the bound to be good stuff, or they wouldn't last like they have, would they?
Yeah, they've got some age on them.
Yeah.
Even the salesman, he was actually the one that sold them to the county in the first place. And he says amazed that they have lasted this long. Because I think the warranty on them is only like 5 to 7 years, maybe. We've had a lot longer than that.
What's the total on that?
That's what I started to ask next. How much?
10,000.
$10,371.
And we can take that out of our donation fund, that is, if y'all would agree to it. And I'm sure the patrons down there would appreciate it because bicycles are used a lot.
We've got 24,000 in the line item.
I'll make a motion, we approve.
That would affect our ability if we moved forward with the batting cages. I know that was something that was discussed. We do have, did we not put in for equipment for the wellness center for Cole Severance as well? Did we, when we started those projects for coming, it included the wellness center, correct? So we could do equipment in that also. The only thing that I want to make note of is last night I went through our budget with fine-tooth comb, and we are to the point where we are not going to be able to spend unbudgeted money at this point. There's been a lot of things that we've not budgeted for that, we've gone through and we've kind of reached the end of that to where we're gonna have to be a lot more cautious and start watching things a lot more closely. That's the only, that's the only thing that I have to say is take that into consideration at this point. And that goes across the board. That goes to jail, for the road, the whole thing.
So we've got about 3 months left.
4, that'll come
I
out of
see.
this budget.
Well, yeah.
Because March bills come out of this budget.
April, May, and June.
April, May, and June.
And what's
And
left in
usually
March.
we pay as much as we can into July, if the budget allows, depending on how our budget allows and when we receive our bills. Sometimes they can even go into July. So,
So what would the total be if we bought the bikes and the batting cages? Does we have enough money?
it would be, I would say about 45, I think. What was it? I'm gonna say about full 30, would it not be for the batting cages? I don't have that quote.
The
with me.
batting cages,
Are they-
Jerry, do you know what, estimated about what the total cost would be? The floor, the electrical, the hookup?
The quotes that you have are just quotes that I got from local. You're probably looking at around 35,000 for everything.
Okay.
But which those can be adjusted if you go out and look for, additional quotes. The quote on the equipment that you all had from the last meeting is, that was the lowest quote that I got from over 4 different places.
Right.
Now, the flooring and the installation as far as electrical and all that comes from local.
Okay.
And you can choose to do whatever, but now the equipment, the other equipment that Robin's asking for, I mean, if she got money set aside from that, then, I'd say let that be used for her stuff. There may be possible funding out there from other resources to help with the batting cages if y'all, look to go forward with that.
Have we used up all of our coal service money that we already had down there?
No, we haven't got that yet.
Well,
I mean, we've got 18,000 that we will be getting, but we haven't, we're in the process of doing the paperwork right now.
But we could use that for,
We can use it for whatever,
that's what I thought.
yeah.
I'm gonna
It's
take
broke.
Anthony's motion and go ahead and put in there that we use that coal service money for the batting cages.
Okay.
Yes,
That's
and
fine
the
with
money
you.
that, for the bikes, the grant, whatever.
You gonna put in your motion that we go ahead and use that coal service money for the batting cages too?
Now, I think, the scope of work wouldn't cover, it covers equipment, the snack bar. This one, that 18,000, it doesn't mention the batting cages.
Yeah.
So we'd have to change that scope of work. And really, we won't have time because we gotta get that money spent. I have to have everything in by the 1st of April.
Well, can we just
Well, if
flop
says
it and use the
yeah,
coal severance
yeah,
on
Can we
the?
use the,
Coal service money for the bicycles and stuff then?
Can I say something? On the coal savers money, I've already got a list of stuff that we could actually get in there and it would help facilitate the whole building. I'm asking for, bleachers, stuff for the snack bar area. What else is on that list? The nets to cover where the basketballs can't come out on the floor. I've got a whole list of stuff that would help, utilize, cause the whole building to be utilized more.
What did you guys say the cost of the bicycles was?
$10,371.
We had some money left out of the original 50,000 that we had, didn't we?
Yes, the
That's what I'm asking.
24,
Is that,
that's,
is that what you're asking for, to use that towards your equipment purchase? Okay. Is that the way you're making your money?
Yeah, I make a motion to
That
do
we
that.
use what she's talking about?
But Denzel wanted to add to that.
Well,
Yeah.
if we can, we can use that cold service money for the bicycles, I believe,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, what we still got left in the
Yeah.
remaining of the $50,000 is not earmarked for anything, is that right?
no, it's not. No.
Okay, we can use that to buy the equipment that she's talking about right now.
Yes, but if you do that, you cannot do the batting cages.
Right.
Okay,
That
but I
puts the
mean,
batting cages at a complete halt, but you can do the coal severance for the bicycles and use the donation for the batting cages.
I attended the advisory board meeting for the Wellness Center on Monday. And that board has asked that you all put the batting cage project on hold at this time. They want to do a little bit of investigating. They feel like that it is addressing too much of a certain age group, and they want that area to address all ages. So they ask that you just hold up, if you would, and give them time to do a little bit of research. So I told them I'd pass that on for them.
Who was it that said that?
The advisory board, the Wellness Center Advisory Board.
I think the feeling of the board is that they want to affect more, the whole
broad.
scope of people, from seniors down to toddlers, with what they're gonna do, and that makes sense. I mean, I think that was the consensus of the Wellness Center when it was brought about, was to try to reach everybody. And that was one of the reasons that they want to put the batting cages on hold for right now, till they do a little more research. And I don't think they're not asking anything out of, that we can't do, because it's been there, 2 years now, Robin? And we're still not to the peak where we'd like to be, but we're better. But I would say that we need to go along with their wishes, if that's all right with the court. Any objection to that? Well, you want to make the motion then for her to purchase the
The backs.
bikes?
Make that
Anyway,
motion.
Using what funds?
Using the donation money, or if we want to put the other on hold, or should we still take it out of that so if that come available, which would be the best?
Well, it's like Jerry said, there may be other money available for the batting cages too, so that's up to you all.
I'll make the motion that we buy it from the donation. You second?
now you're talking about the equipment that she's talking about?
Yes.
Okay. Anthony made the motion, you second, Denzel, all in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, Miss Lindsay,
Do you want to let Jerry go ahead?
Jerry, do you need to go ahead so you can,
I mean, you all discussed the batting cages and the pitching cages and stuff. I know that you all was talking about they wanted the very from toddlers to over those cages would benefit kids from the smallest of kids playing t-ball all the way up through the high school. And even people, that do even softball travel and stuff like that, travel teams, bringing people in from other areas and other counties around us. Anything east of Winchester, there's no public cages or facilities for people to go use, especially during the winter months. You have a lot of travel teams that are trying to get ready for tournaments and stuff that start in March. They have no facilities to go to at the site. But, you know, whatever the wishes are of the wellness center and the court, that's fine. Like I said, there may be additional money that could help fund that. You know, this is just a proposal of something to put in there. And the wellness center's been there for 2 years, and I'm not sure that it's sustained itself as far as paying its bills and things like that. And as a member of the community and taxpayer, I mean, we need to find a way to utilize that building and make it be profitable and pay for itself to where it's not strenuous on the tax dollars of the county, and that we can be using it in a way. I mean, they've done what they can with the center, and Robin's, you know, she's working to try to get different things, and that's what I was trying to do also, was just trying to put some input in there, bring something in that would maybe bring people in from other counties and other areas.
Well, I think the more we get going down there, the better off we'll be, and it builds up interest, and people will donate to it. We will get donations along the way, but we will continue on with that proposal.
Could you meet with the advisory board? I mean,
Do what now?
could you meet with the advisory board?
No, I'd only talk to just the fiscal court here.
So
Can you meet with?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
anytime, you know, they want, and you all can share with what I shared with you all with them also.
Okay.
And I've talked to Robin, you know, a time or two at the wellness center about it also.
I think what the advisory board wants is something that is more family friendly, something the whole family can do together. That's just my take on their
Okay.
meeting. Is that not yours, Linda?
Yeah.
They want something that is family friendly for, say for instance, you and Brenda wanted to come out and bowl. You could bring the grandson, whatever. It would be for the whole family, not just for certain ages or.
Well, anytime you get anybody active, I think you've done what you need to be done. I mean, you play too many games on your hand, your iPads and all that stuff, you know. You need to have some activity. But we'll be in touch with you about it. Okay, Lindsay.
Thank you, Jane.
Yeah, thank you.
I hope everybody's packet's in order. We've done this very rushed. On the financial statement, a reconciled financial statement, general fund has $367,910.12. The road has $819,155.51. The jail has $30,504.94. LGEA has $69,837. And forestry has $204.39. Special projects has $95,106. Now, the next page should be a budget transfer journal. And this is a little more of a lengthy one. I basically depleted our reserve for transfers, going through and straightening out line items. 75,000 of that went from the general fund reserves into other contracts with other counties for our jail bill. We had to do an inter-fund budget transfer on that. For 75, I will have an estimated about another 50,000 at least to go also from the general fund appropriations into that exact same line item. Where our jail bill has gone up, that is something that we're having to account for now. The other things are just routine things here and there that have fallen short that I have straightened out. There is one line item in the road that is still negative to the amount of 18,000, and I have a budget amendment that I will not be able to straighten that out until I get to that budget amendment. We are to the point of really watching our budget and really watching our spending, because we don't want to overdo and, you know, spend what we don't have. And when we take a hit in the jail, you know, that's part of it, but that's something we have to account for and take into consideration. There was a lot of unforeseen spending buying the equipment in the road, the King Creek deal exceeding, we had some roads blacktopped. All of those were unbudgeted spending that we now have to account for. And it's going to prevent doing further also, and just being more tedious. So I need approval on these budget transfers. And in these budget transfers, you've got your revenue and appropriation condition report. They are reflected in your appropriation condition report as current. And I do have revenue that it shows, well, yeah, I can amend additional, but like in the road, for instance, where we're not getting our blacktop money, where we're not getting that money, yeah, it shows that I have $300,000 that is from prior year carryover that I could amend, but we have to take that blacktop money out of that amount because we're not going to get that at this point. And if we do, then we can go back and amend that amount and move forward. But until then, you have to back that out. So it looks like there could be more to work with than there really is. I've amended what I am comfortable amending at this point, but all of that is reflected in your appropriation condition report. So I need approval on the budget transfers, and then I'll
I'll
move
make
to my
that
last
motion.
one.
Second. Brandon made, John second, all in favor? Aye.
Also, I do have a budget amendment, and it was last minute. I don't have it on the agenda. It is in the amount of $298,530. $150,000 of that is in the road fund for prior year carryover. That is all that I was comfortable with amending at this point because of the blacktop money not coming in. And in the general fund where we sold our Mack truck, $148,530.
This first reading,
This is first reading.
what number?
Number 5.
You give us a copy of the packet.
It's in there, yeah.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah, it's on the very back. It should be your very last page.
Gotcha.
And the budget transfer journals should be in there as well.
Yeah. I saw those earlier.
So I need a motion on the budget amendment.
I hear a motion to that effect.
I'll make that motion.
Brandon made it, Sammy second, all in favor? Aye.
Is there any questions about any of this? Moving forward where we're at with it, with our budget?
Just make it last as long as you can.
I'm doing my best.
We'll need a
We appreciate you.
just approve the
Approve
report.
the report
Yeah.
as a whole.
Do I hear that motion?
So moved.
John made it. The second? Brandon second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, item number 1 on the new business. Is that all the old stuff we need to take care of? Take care of it. Is that resolution somewhere in here? Y'all got a copy of this resolution?
No, I didn't. But we have ER.
Yeah.
Right here? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Mhm.
You folks want to talk to us now? We're glad to have you, even if it is 8 o'clock.
Hello, I'm Laura Matula with ER Assist. We're a disaster grant services firm. We work for you. We work mainly within federal disaster grants, but we do some private foundation and other grants as well. So you pay us and then FEMA reimburses you for our costs. We've been working on the 4057, the 2012 tornado, for a little bit now, and then most recently we've been engaged to work on 4216, 4217, and 4239, and that's the all floods for road slips.
Would it be safe to say that we're sort of your job security? Or would that be a fair statement? Halfway?
Yeah, especially in the past several years with weather, we're never short of work.
I'm kidding.
No, it's So I'm here to answer questions, or I can just talk about the disaster funding. I know probably your biggest answer is when you're going to get your money, so we can start there and work our way back, or you tell me. Money?
Where's your
Talk
mercy?
money, honey?
Where's your mercy? Just tell us what you know.
Okay, so I'll just go. It's the trouble with FEMA, FEMA disaster grants, is that it is a reimbursement program. So you have to float the funds. And we're at a stage right now where you have to, one, be in compliance, and two, let me back up. When you hire a consultant, we do two things really good. We help you be in compliance, and we try to optimize your funding. So it's kind of like doing your taxes. If you present it to the IRS that you have 6 of one thing, but if you say you have a half a dozen, then the half a dozen may be a deduction. So that's a little ridiculous, but you understand what I'm saying. So we're able to optimize your funding or find other pots of money as well. So it's a choice as an applicant within the system how much you want to go after. We always toe the line as far as eligibility, but you have to essentially spend money to get money. So on your 2012 tornado, we've been very cognizant that you had no money to spend to possibly receive money in the future. And so we can go over, revisit that now, or we can go into the floods.
You have the floor, let's go ahead.
Okay, so we have, Sarah will pass these out. Yeah. On tornado, we have some good news. I think that you can be expecting in the next year to 18 months anywhere from $300,000 to $800,000. And those, don't go to the bank on that number. That is me using my crystal ball. I don't speak for the state. I don't speak for FEMA. This is me telling you, I work for you. This is the number I think you're going to receive. That number varies based on how much you want to pay us to go after the additional funding. Thank you. So specifically, you have, within the FEMA disaster program, there's large and small projects. Large are over a certain dollar amount, and it varies each year, and small are smaller in dollar, not necessarily in project or impact. You have, let me just toot my own horn. We have done a really good job interfacing with KYEM and FEMA to format your grants in such a way that there were no snags in the logical process to fund. So we have prepared the packages in a way that they just go check, 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 done, fund. But that doesn't mean that it's automatic. So most recently we have done the grant, prepared the grant in such a way that FEMA in Atlanta has approved the EDS invoices for the Cat B, and that's the containers, the tents, the generators. They have already previously approved the EDS invoices for Cat A, which is debris, which is the debris cleanup. So we're in a good space. However, they have done an insurance deduction of $188,000. So we expect that funding to be $312,000 for the EDS expenses. You're in a settlement agreement with $500,000. Back to FEMA is a reimbursement grant. So they'll only pay a portion based on that 312 divided by 500,000. We expect a payment of about $230,000 through KYEM at a point sometime in the next few months. 2 complications. Complication number 1, they have put, they're not issuing any funds right now to Morgan County. We'll get back to that issue in a few minutes. And issue number 2, they will not finalize that grant or pay your full funding until you have paid EDS in full. So you could consider taking, a loan outside of your settlement agreement with EDS to pay that off, or you can just continue making the partial payments. So we'll get back to that because that sounds a little complicated.
I don't think we've got any credit left, ma'am. I don't know if you're aware of that or not, but
Okay, well,
many of us that are in here today weren't here
Right.
back at that time.
right,
so
I understand.
we're
I'm just letting you know
plodding along.
that this system is a reimbursement progress, a reimbursement program, so you'll have to continue making progress payments. Issue number 2, they have stopped issuing funding of any kind on any disaster until you're in what they call in compliance on the most recent disasters. And that's what we are working fast and furiously on, because like everything else, past disaster work at the state level and at the federal level will grind, I won't say grind to a halt, it will become it would become secondary to the disaster at hand. And the disaster at hand is the current flooding that recently happened in eastern Kentucky and is currently happening in western Kentucky. So everything that we can get into the state and FEMA prior to that declaration happening will be better for Morgan County. So that's why we're downstairs working with Irene and Connie and Lindsay and working very hard to get that documentation into compliance.
We appreciate your efforts. I don't know, I carry on that school with you a lot better. We really,
No,
we really
it's-
appreciate what you're doing, and hopefully we'll have some funds, down the road.
Absolutely. So I can go into details on those sites. Sarah has passed those out, or?
That was the tornado. These are the current flooding and severe storm sites that we're working on.
Yeah, sure. There's really, I'm just here to give you information. Today we're doing some work on the current flooding, so we're approximately in the area. But on the 2012 tornado, I have 2 questions for you to consider. One, how much you want us to pursue additional funding, and that's in 2 areas you could receive. I don't want to say it's additional funding, but the bottom line will be money back to you. One is in the donated resources or volunteer grant. I know there was a significant volunteer and donation response. We have probably this much, if you had this much donation and volunteer response, we have the documentation of maybe this much. FEMA, and stay with me because this is going to sound like I'm talking crazy talk. FEMA pays Morgan County for the volunteers and donations it received. So if that sounds like double dipping, it is, but it actually saves the federal taxpayer money because that volunteer could have been a contractor. However, we don't have that documentation. We have, on your behalf, contacted, I have personally gone to the Louisville office of the FBI and gone through documentation, but it's in the subpoenaed records, not in the non-subpoenaed records. I don't know, so I was not able to get the documentation that they may have, so they will not release that to anyone. I don't even know that that documentation exists there. It could be that we could recreate it, but that would take some effort. And so by recreating it, it doesn't mean oh, Joe Smith probably volunteered. It means we contact the local veterinarian that provided shelter for animals, and he faxes or emails us. That's how we recreate it, or we troll Facebook.
The more you all have to do,
the more it costs you.
the more it's gonna cost us.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether, offset
That's
one or
the
the other.
balance, right.
Like I
So-
told those folks down the other day, and I probably shouldn't have said it, but I did say it. I admit to saying it. We got by without FEMA for years and years and years, and we'll probably get by without them a while longer, but it makes it the path more easier if we have
Right,
abilities from them.
right. So, and I will only say that FEMA does reimburse our costs. But you have to float it.
But the thing about FEMA, we do this right, FEMA owes us a lot of money.
That's correct.
But is it, what it's gonna cost us through them, is it gonna one offset the other?
Oh,
FEMA
They
reimburses them.
reimburse
them.
so our return on investment in some cases is so ridiculous, we don't even quote it because it's like 600 to 1, because FEMA's reimbursing. So, and that particular grant, the Donated Resources Grant, there's no cost to you net, but you'll have to float it for a year. And we're a benefit corporation, we're a small company, like we do our very best to limit expenses. But we do have to, you know, we do have to pay our bills.
You have to eat and buy
Right,
gas. don't you?
right. So, so let me recap the tornado. I think that what FEMA turned in immediately after the tornado was $92,000 in donated resources. By comparison, Laurel County turned in approximately $300,000 in donated resources. You should have, by that comparison, you probably, and Joplin, Missouri had 17 million in donated resources. I'm not gonna say you have 1 million in donated resources, but maybe, like, I bet you have 600,000 easy. Yeah.
I know every shelter, every place we had and all that stuff, it had sign in where you sign in for your
Right.
donated, what you're talking about, your donated time. Now, where them is at now?
Right,
I
exactly.
can't answer
So-
that, but I know every place that had them.
Right, so the only copies that we have been able to get, and so I really have done some work, but at no charge to you. That is a bad business practice. To trying to find these records. I've contacted Jim Garrett at KYM. We've tried to find it from the FBI. We secured the AmeriCorps documentation. So we call that, in the biz, we call that unaffiliated volunteers. What we don't have is all the volunteer groups. So we had the onesie twosies, or maybe a church group for the day, but we don't have the regular Salvation Army volunteers, or the Baptist, Southern Baptist, Yellow Jackets they're called. But so I think that we could get some additional documentation, or perhaps you have a volunteer in the community that's willing to spearhead this. But FEMA pays for this, or reimburses, incentivizes volunteerism and donations for this disaster at $9.06 a volunteer hour, and it's about $15 an hour for a half-ton truck. I think it's $14 an hour for this disaster, and then ambulances, generators, anything like that. Now, it can't just be, oh, we volunteered. It has to be what FEMA considers for the public good. So removing debris from the ingress or egress from the driveway, tarping. We have to document. Generally, you have to who, where, and what they were doing. And we would give some guidance on what's eligible and what's not. So rebuilding a home is not eligible, but removing the tree down from the driveway so that an ambulance could get in or out is eligible. So we're really good at advising, or we can just go at it. The other one that is a decision that we have not taken any action on is the difference between, FEMA pays the difference between insurance and the actual costs. So it was the courts building. Right now it's sitting that you get the insurance deductible. That one is a very complex project in that you would not get the dollar amount to restore you would not get the actual cost to restore the buildings, because we didn't document along the way compliance with historical preservation and environmental. We didn't do all that kind of documentation, but we can do what they call an alternate project. We can figure out what the max dollar amount they would have paid and then put it towards the batting cages or something else. So they call it an alternate project. But that one is probably more work than the donated resources. On my behalf, on our behalf. I wish as a company that we didn't have to be in business because this process should be easy enough for applicants to maneuver themselves, but it's not. So that's
where y'all come in.
Yeah, we saw a niche and we had to fill it. So, you know, you can get $15,000 in a FEMA grant, or if you know how to ask the right questions, you can get $115,000 for a FEMA grant. So I'm just telling you that I think that you could get more than the $500 for the courts building, but it will take some effort. And to this point, we've known that perhaps you didn't have that money to pursue it.
We haven't had money.
I know.
For anything, ma'am. As you'll find out.
Right.
We're better than we were.
Right.
We'll say that.
So I can talk a little bit on the floods and the road slippage projects, or I can just answer questions.
You just go ahead.
Okay, well.
And inform us of what you want us to know.
Okay, we're working really hard on the compliance of the road slippage projects, and the reason that we're in the situation that we're in now is one, it's not the county's. If you have been made to feel bad by FEMA or the state for being in non-compliance, it's a complex system, and it's not, there's no one that has been deficient in their duties. I'll say that. Road slippage projects are written on a template, and they guesstimate the depth to bedrock. It says right in the scope of work, do a test boring, but then it also gives you a template of what they guesstimate. And then they came out, or KYN came out and said, well, this wasn't in compliance to the template. But it's clear because in the template, the first line is test borings, that really what should have been done is do the test borings first and then fill out the template. But that's kind of the way the projects do, just for time efficiency. So we're going to get you caught up. We're going to get them all closed out. We're going to get the funding just ASAP. But it's a tough program. And I would just recommend that in the future, that if you have road slippage projects and you're going to do rail and cribbing, that you try to do that test boring or figure out the depth to bedrock prior to the rest of the project being written. And we're going to be doing time extensions and scope changes. They call them scope, and then you have to comply with that scope. You can always request a scope change. So.
Anybody have any questions you want to ask this firm before they leave?
I'll talk about disaster grants or road slippage or rail and cribbing all day, so you better cut me off.
We appreciate your effort, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Gazay, Jimmy Gazay.
I was volunteer coordinator during the tornado. I can go back and check my emails, so I might be able to get you some.
There you go. That's $10,000 right there.
And I'll also those to you.
Yes, please.
How long did you think it would take if you did do this other work?
For the volunteer?
Yeah.
I think that if you authorized us $10,000 worth of work, we would do that a month. And we could probably find an additional $300,000 for you.
You might want her to talk about it.
Pass that up to the lady, see if she wants to talk about that.
The resolution.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, okay, thank you. So, this is we've done these resolutions in the past where you authorize us to be able to speak to KYM or to FEMA on your behalf. We need to actually modify, so the current one says disasters, and KYM has requested that we fill in the actual disaster numbers. So this is nothing new, except instead of the word all disasters, it says disaster number, disaster number, disaster number, disaster number. It's all in the paperwork. It's all in the paperwork. And KYM is very careful about who they allow to speak to them or FEMA on the applicant's behalf, so that, you know, everyone in the community isn't calling to find out details or to act on your behalf. And so we never sign anything on your behalf. We just provide information, and we usually do it by a group email. But that's what this resolution is.
Need to have that signed before you...
Yes, please.
We need to-
Yep.
Motion to adopt.
Motion.
I guess,
Do I have to adopt?
I'll make a motion that we adopt.
all right.
Just go ahead and sign it.
Anthony's made
as
the
you pass
motion
it
that we
through.
adopt this resolution here, say.
Second.
Then second, all in favor? Aye.
We just need to agree to administer it again. Yeah.
So we are currently tasked with the non-tornado disasters, getting into compliance and closed out financially ASAP. We're also on this minimal work, do the best you can with the lowest amount of cost for the tornado. If you decide that you would like us to do more work, to pursue funds, specifically the donated resources and possibly the courts building alternate project, then that's a decision for the court. And it doesn't have to be today. Tomorrow's fine too. This is my coworker, Sarah Torres.
Hi, I've been here working downstairs all week, so I've met some of y'all already, but.
You want to speak?
No.
let you-
Laurel set it off.
We'll let you speak too. We hope in all this monies that we're talking about that we get enough together that we can have a better system from our programs that we have, because we get a lot of complaints that they can't hear us. Miss Fan. So, you know, they like to hear, they like to watch us, but they also like to hear us. So maybe we get enough money out of it to buy some system.
We truly take our role as an advocate, not as a client. We consider ourselves your advocate, not we just work because you pay us. So we take pride in getting you the best bang for your buck. So I absolutely will try our hardest so that people can hear you.
Well, we appreciate your efforts.
Well, thank you.
We really do. Anything else you want to speak to the lady about?
So
Or ladies?
both of those spreadsheets are drafts. Please don't go spend that money. That's an export of what's either in FEMA or we have a software as of this moment. I just provided that as our next step. We have to do time extensions. We have to do some scope changes. A couple of those dollar amounts are going to be de-obligated. Horse Park, you didn't do the work, and perhaps another site has already been done by KYTC, so please don't consider that a
Anytime-
deposit in the bank.
Anytime you need to know anything about it, come and ask. The girls can tell you. I can't, but the girls can tell you.
Okay.
Maybe one of these magistrates might be able to tell you something. I don't know.
Right. I just always get real nervous passing out anything with dollar amounts, because then you come back and say, look, we're overdrawn because you said.
We thank you for your efforts.
Thank you.
Stanley, could we move number 6 up so that these men and women could either, some of them may have worked last night and need to go home and go to bed, or some need to go to bed.
Fine with me.
Is that all right, number 6?
What's that?
Ambulance board? Ambulance board.
Yeah.
Well, starting off, I'm going to preach. I'm not a preacher, but I'm going to preach just a little bit right now. You know, I think we've got one of the finest ambulance services there are anywhere for our size and what income we have and the revenue we have. I don't know how, they never have had to pick me up yet, but you might have to haul me out of here today. But anyway, I think we've got a good outfit, and we want to keep it that way. I can remember when all this come under the funeral homes, what little ambulance service we had came by the funeral home. And I think we've got good people that are running the show, and we want to keep it like that. We've had 2 resignations from the ambulance service board last little bit. Let's see, one in girl's name? Chelsea. Steele Cantrell has resigned from the board, and we need to put somebody in her place. And also Alan Perkins has resigned, and we need to put somebody in his place. The 2 members that have said that they would like to be on that board, one is Jamie Phipps, and the other is Rodney Cantrell. They both come with a lot of expertise, and I guess Rodney has trained a lot of the EMT people and emergency people that we have working today. And I think both of those would be good fits for the ambulance service. So I'm recommending that we put them on the board to join Michael. You're still on the board. And that would be Michael, Jamie, and Rodney. Those 3 people on the board.
There's the terms. Finish out the terms.
Alan's term ends in December of 18. And we had recommended to put Rodney Cantrell in that place. And Chelsea's serves through February of 19. And we had recommended Jamie Phipps for that place. So, do I hear a motion that we fill these 2 positions with these 2 people that I have recommended? We can't operate without a board, and they're both effective today, is that right? Their resignation today. So, do I hear a recommendation that we put these people on the board? We can't operate without board members.
I'll make that motion too.
Stanley's made the motion. Do I hear a second?
Do you need a motion?
Yeah,
Yeah.
to fill these positions.
I've done it before with that.
Stanley's made it. Do I hear a second? Well, we don't want to shut it down, for sure.
I'd like to go back to do them one at a time. I'll make a motion to put Jamie Phipps on there.
Okay.
I can stand good for him, he's my neighbor.
Okay. Do I hear a second to that
So
motion?
this first motion's gonna die.
Yeah, I'd like to say. All right, do I hear a second to Denzel's motion?
I'll second.
Anthony seconded. All in favor? Aye. All right, the second position, Rodney Cantrell in place of Alan Perkins. Anybody make that motion? Do I hear a motion to put Mr. Cantrell on there, on our board? I don't know where we can operate with 2 members or not.
Nope,
I don't think it's
Can't.
lawful, is it?
no.
Does it have to be, does the third one have to be appointed today?
You have to have 3 members to
The-
operate.
We'd have to have the 2 to go on today. 'Cause
Today.
it runs out today. Those 2 resignations were effective today. So we've got,
So Michael and Jamie's not enough as today to
no,
keep the board?
have to have 3.
Does it have to be right now? Can it be just today?
No, it has to be in this meeting. Let's do it right now. Well, I hear no motion then, that the, hear no, from the board, then it'll die without, somebody okaying it. I don't know what that means about the operation.
Means they can't operate.
It means that we can't,
That
you know,
means they
run
shut
the
down.
ambulance. It's flat, 0.
How much local we put him on?
Okay.
We can't have the
Stanley.
ambulance to shut down.
I'll go
Stanley
ahead.
made the motion. Do I hear a
I'll go
second?
ahead.
You second, Anthony?
I don't,
I didn't hear what you said.
we can't shut it down, so.
No.
No other name, I mean,
Robert Boland might be interested.
well,
Well, as of right now, we've got to do what we've got, to do right here. Do I hear a second to Stanley's motion?
I'll second it.
Brandon second, all in favor?
Board,
Aye.
shut down.
Okay, being made and seconded, these 2 people will take the position on the ambulance board, effective today.
for the expired terms.
Yes.
Yeah, for the expired terms that we stated here to start out with. Okay, Anthony, is that the one you wanted to
Yeah,
move?
that way they
Okay,
need to leave.
you need to go, y'all go.
If anybody got anything else to say?
Yeah, you wanna say anything before you go?
No, we just appreciate the support of the board, and if there's any questions, please feel free to call. Most of us up there will be able to answer about any question you've got.
I never seen Michael at a loss of words, never have.
No.
We appreciate you all,
Well, thank you.
for
As a
sure.
long-term employee, we appreciate you all. Thank you all very much.
Okay. I need approval of this grant for the ag grants again. We have to pass on that. Do I hear a motion? We
So
accept
moved.
that?
Second.
John
Same as
made
what
it.
we've done before, right?
Daniel second, same thing, yeah.
It needs to read, and I'll give this to Randy, to approve the fiscal court to administer the 2018 CAIP Ag Grant Program with the approval of the judge executive to sign all necessary documents pertaining to the grant and approve the issue of purchase orders and pay invoices as presented by the local ag council.
And we're just the more or less the pass through for it, right?
Right,
That's
just like we've
fine.
done before,
Keep
but
my
that's
motion.
how the motion needs to read.
John made the motion.
I think Denzel, you
Vince
second
made the
it?
motion. Second, anybody?
All of it.
Denzel seconded it.
Vince will second.
You wanna talk about the Historical Society Museum right now?
Well,
Anthony, or not?
yeah, it's.
See George is back there, he may
Well,
be,
George is gonna,
is he part of that?
yeah. Go ahead, George.
George, we're calling on you to talk.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Most of you don't know me. I've only lived and worked that little over 80 years.
Is that all? Is that all?
Anyway, I'm just here this morning to represent the Morgan County Historical Society. And Tony, I guess Tony couldn't make it. He called me and asked me if I could come over here. Won't take up much of your time. I want to talk about a leak we have in the roof. I think they've talked to someone in there, has talked to one of the masters maybe about this, and they maybe ask them to present it here to fiscal court. I think the leak is minor, very minor, but I think it'll cause major problems if water keeps running down the sides, the inside, and damaging a lot of the things that they have in there. So if there's any way possible, we need some help from anyone, but this morning I'm asking the fiscal court if you could help us. The county does own the building, and we appreciate being there, and we've worked hard at it for 25 or 30 years trying to keep it up. And last year I bought the material and hired a guy myself and got up there with the two of us repaired it, but I'm getting to where I don't need to be running around the edge of that building 30 feet high. And appreciate your consideration. If you can help us.
I'll make a motion, we try to help them.
I'll second
We need
that.
a-
Anthony made it, Nancy second, all in favor?
Well, what they need to do is get us a
Give us
quote.
some estimates.
We need to get a contractor. I doubt if it would be 20,000. It's a small leak. I mean, we wouldn't
Small
have to-
building too, it ain't very big. is
We
it?
wouldn't have to get a bid or anything.
They say doubted it would be that bad.
See what we do.
We'd have to bid it.
Lord, I'd hope.
They
We
need
wouldn't
to
have to
get
bid
a quote on
it
it.
then. Get a contractor.
Thanks.
You better.
Probably put a roof on for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a flat roof, it's a bad thing. Hard to keep it.
Calm down. That's over.
There's a request there from the horse park, looks like they need some repair and paint and stuff done down there. I understand they've got a show that's a pretty popular item this year, and it's going, they were contacted and want to use our park for a show, and it'll be a pretty good money-making thing for the show down there this year.
We
So
need
it's
a motion to.
Need a motion to accept this.
I'll make the motion.
All right, Anthony made it. There, second? Second.
Who seconded it, John?
All in favor? Aye.
Those bids presented, you gonna accept those bids presented, that motion?
Yeah, it was only $1,200. Up to that amount.
There's another one on
There's another
that.
one on the next page.
350, it's $1,500.
Okay.
So 1,500 total.
No.